Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to today's water cooler chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's delegating, orchestrating, gatewaying, developing AI inference, or anything to do with the Livepeer ecosystem. We're here to ask questions and get answers. We have quite a few topics ahead of us. We have technical topics such as LLMs on the network, bottlenecks on tickets, popping up gateway orchestrators, quantized models, pricing, SPEs, and other integrations into AI frameworks that Livepeer is doing. So, with all those topics ahead of us, let's start off with some governance topics, some big overview topics, and then we'll flow into very technical and nitty gritty stuff later on. So, why don't we kick us off real quick with SPE topics? So, Doug, do you want to kick us off with the SPE, this protocol SPE that you were talking about? Give us an overview of what it is for who hasn't read it so far, and what the motivations are. And go ahead with your topic.
Yeah, sure. I started a discussion thread in the forum with some initial ideas. You can check it out at forum.livepeer.org. Basically advocating for some entity in the live peer ecosystem that should exist with responsibility and dedicated attention to the live peer protocol smart contracts themselves. Both, you know, bug fixing and small improvements and future development, as well as taking responsibility for the security aspects of being like the first responder for um, bug reports that come in through the Immunify program and triaging those and responding to them with fixes and whatnot as well. This is an area that has been a little bit like under resourced in the last couple of years. A lot of the core team has maybe like paid attention to handle the urgent issues when they come in and to support them along, but there hasn't been a lot of like dedicated design and development to iterate on the protocol itself or field new requests there. And so we have all this public goods funding. It's a great opportunity to ramp up more people with knowledge on the protocol, especially from a security perspective, who can be available to do a great job as a first responder on these security issues that come up and to support the development that we'll need as we push further and further down the AI track as well. And so, yeah, check out the forum thread. Uh, I won't go too deep into the proposal right now because I think it's just at the feedback stage. But I think we'd look for someone to take on sort of the lead of this group, and then maybe find and source some protocol developers, maybe from smart contract security firms, audit firms, the type of reporters who have found and reported bugs on Immunify, who are like super experts on the protocol, and figure out how to maybe um, get some compensation to them, maybe like from a part-time perspective, but they would be available as like a first responder when an issue comes up, but don't need to be 100% full-time on development all the time. So yeah, give it a read, share some feedback, share some ideas. We've already had a little bit of a discussion in the governance channel um, that and shared some good ideas as well. And I'll work towards modifying that proposal and working with the right person in the community or the broader ecosystem to maybe step in as a lead for that. And hopefully we can get something funded and get more expertise on smart contracts and protocol development into the ecosystem soon.
Excellent. Yeah. So just for the, I'm just kind of skim reading it here, and I'm just kind of, is this SPE going to be responsible for taking over the upgradable keys for the on chain contracts?
I think that so right now there's a security committee that executes the on-chain upgrades. That's what you're referring to. We've always said it would be great to decentralize control over that security committee. There's a bigger topic, right? But at the minimum, our token holding token holders in our ecosystem should maybe be able to vote people on and off that committee or decide how many signers are necessary or even eliminate the committee altogether if they determine that's the right path. So I think at the minimum, taking the steps and updating the protocol to support that decentralized control seems like a good idea. At the maximum, I think there is a whole slew of research on governance and mechanisms and incentive design to think about upgrading or enhancing the governance mechanisms around that. But I think at the minimum, yeah, sort of extending our governance to have control over that committee seems like a good step for this group as well. And that's more like a protocol implementation step than a huge governance responsibility.
So is this SPE then dedicated towards more or less just allocating resources to finding, reporting, and managing, bugs in the protocol rather than doing the actual implementation or upgrades itself?
I think they would do the implementation. I think they're like the expert smart contract developers that can do the implementation, get it tested, support auditors and auditing it, um, et cetera.
Right. So this is the funding that goes towards the experts that can, detect, manage the programs, and suggest the upgrades for the council to deploy it.
Yep, yep. Think of it. Yeah, think of it as like smart contract security and protocol developers. And some of the early feedback that came across in the chat was like, "Oh, this seems super important. This is really core. How could this be outsourced to an SPE?" With sort of the implication that outsourcing something to an SPE means it's not important or not a priority. I wanted to just like push back on that a little bit. I don't think outsourcing to an SPE means something's not a priority. I think it means like getting more funding so we can have more resource and more expertise and more attention on these super important areas than we have at the moment. And I think the people who already have that expertise, there's a handful of sort of protocol experts in this ecosystem. They probably play a very key role in the early months, years of ramping up this SPE so that they can impart knowledge and advise and mentor and do security reviews and those sorts of things. But I think the more the better.
Right. So this SPE is more around the funding of those particular people who can now take ownership of that, and whether these are ex Inc employees or whether there's new developers that come in. This is just a source of funding from an on-chain treasury to dedicate towards maintaining this type of structure, right? The kind of
Yep. Yep, that's right. And I also said in the scope, I think they should run the current bug bounty programs. The Immunified Bug Bounty program has been instrumental. It's incentivized these security experts to go deep and spend weeks understanding the ins and outs of the Livepeer protocol, finding bugs, and they found and reported bugs responsibly that, if exploited, would cost a lot of value to the token holders in this ecosystem. And so that's been great, but it's expensive. Like it's probably $100,000 worth of value per year that goes into those incentives. And so public goods funding from the Treasury seems like a great sustainable source of those incentives, versus relying on like you know one entity with limited funding just to sort of front that cost forever.
yeah, it definitely seems like a natural progression too of like separate, you can go from, say one entity managing not only the bug bounty programs, but also the implementation and deploying of the upgrade. It's like the first step could be just reallocating the resources to fund that. And so like there's no major critical security change. It's just managing where the funding comes from. That's like a nice, easy step into that kind of movement toward centralization. Kind of how I see it.
Cool. Yep.
Any other comments or comments or mentions or anyone wants to discuss about such an SPE?
I would like to do a comment about the possibility of reducing the cost by outsourcing some of the decision making towards blockchain AI agents. I know that there are protocols that deal with that. One is Giza. I'm pretty sure it's not on the Ethereum, but there are definitely protocols that allow agents to be on chain. So some decision making that traditionally would have be given to paid members of the community can be given as a first step. You can have a 30 or 40% of those people being agents. I think it's something worth exploring for reducing costs.
DeFi, I just want to clarify what you mean by that. When you say agents helping out with this, are they the ones finding the bugs and making recommendations, or are we giving them funds to run programs like bounty programs and stuff to actually manage the program itself? Like, how do you see agents interacting in this?
So both, but so agents can be coding agents. So instead of having 10 auditors, you can have two very good auditors and some helper agents or agents that are able to verify their work. So as the intelligence output is increased dramatically every day that passes, we will definitely have very competent agent auditors in half a year or 1 year right now. I'm pretty sure that if you put the new R1, the full R1, to be an auditor, or just a single instance, I'm not talking about an agentic team, will be a pretty good auditor. So why not have the means of harnessing that intelligence for those tasks? And the second is to just as said before, to be decision maker. So, for example, if you have a multi-sig, you can have agents to be full agents to be all the members of that multi-sig, or for other decision makers, so you can have them on chain, receiving the transactions and then computing inference on top of them to find out, and that can be also a means of attack control. So it can act as a preventer of future cybersecurity hacks, etc.
I love it, DeFi. And you're like an agent maxi. You're just like so deep in the weeds. I absolutely love it. That's it. So it sounds like we can use agents as tools to help with these type of like huge security tasks. That's kind of how you're saying.
Exactly. So I really love using agents to leverage tasks because I think that this is the future. They augment you to be so much intelligent in whatever you want to do. Now, I want to clarify that there will definitely be early exploits. We will definitely have some security. So this is still experimental. All I'm saying is, why not have at least a plan or some POC code out, some proof of concept code out that allows you to bring auditors on chain and have them run. And when the models are capable, when we can run R1 in 1 year from now in our customer consumer GPU, we can use it to give value to the system.
Yeah, excellent ideation. That's really cool. I'd be curious, Doug, just to clarify, does this SPE have proposed members in it, or is it just conceptual right now and find the members for that SPE?
Yeah, just conceptual right now. Yeah, this is not an actual proposal. It's not asked for funding yet. It's just the beginning of a discussion and feedback for how this should best take shape. Um, yeah, to Define's point, I certainly think this SPE could leverage agents or AI, if you want to call it, to assist in the security procedures within the protocol. I know when we've done um, audits and bug bounties, they've certainly used um, AI as a first pass that finds the first 100 most common issues and reports on them before they have human auditors go in and go deep. So I know that that's something that's already been in the process. And yeah, I think whoever is proposing this and leading this could make use of that technology to provide more leverage and cost savings for the ecosystem.
Great idea, DeFi. Thank you, Doug, for putting forward this this proposal. And yeah, Define, I'd recommend hopping into the forum post and explaining your idea so that it can be kind of permanently baked into the conversation. Recommend posting, replying on that forum post. Excellent. Cool. Okay, let's continue on because we got a couple other topics in governance before we move on. So the next one is Nneoma. You've got with Govworks. Do you want to tell us kind of what your topic is around your recap of Govworks and a Govworks SPE, and kind of what your topic is about?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's essentially recapping the work we've been doing as chair of Govworks and the pathways that we want to take next in terms of formalizing a Govworks SPE, and essentially dogfooding a lot of the processes that we've been building out for the past couple months. So just as a bit of background, Stable Lab has been engaging with Livepeer as the Govworks chair, essentially to fill this gap of a lack of a governance body, to provide structured oversight for the allocation of Livepeer's on-chain treasury. And so the lack of such a governance body, of course, can lead to inefficiencies, a lot of misalignment with the mission of Livepeer, and just insufficient transparency overall. So the work we've been doing for the past couple months has been to fill those gaps. And a brief overview of what we've achieved so far. First, we launched the Governance Hub, which essentially is a centralized platform resource that is offering insight into SPE progress. We have an SPE dashboard that surfaces idea of high priority SPEs, potential SPEs that are in the works, and then of course active SPEs. We've been hosting treasury talks alongside N to give the floor to new prospective SPEs to share their ideas, gain feedback, shape up their pre-proposals, and then also creating rituals in the community, one of which is this new thing of posting monthly reports for ongoing SPEs. Within that governance hub, like I mentioned before, there is a contribution efficiency framework, which is establishing essentially this accountability system for SPEs to improve transparency, really fortifying this SPE formation pipeline. So one case in point is, Doug's idea of the protocol security SPE, which we can then sort of use the details of that discussion to provide the specs to the community and increase visibility around this idea of a protocol security SPE to then inspire folks within the community to come forward and take ownership of that SPE. And we support them through the process by providing resources, advice, and so on, just generally being a sounding board and not having too much bureaucracy around the process in general. So yeah, it's been really interesting to see the SPEs that have shaped up in the past couple months of our operation. We have a couple folks here like Marco from the Mist server team that is stepping up to fill the gap in like the transcoding pipeline. We have folks from Refraction that are doing some more like cultural aspects in terms of like, getting the tech in front of artists, doing like having real use cases tied to the tech. 24-hour video showcase. We have Jason that runs a node as well, who is surfacing ideas around open source software funding for Livepeer and so on. So we have quite a few of those in the pipeline, and it's sort of like a proof of concept of the work that Govworks is able to do and how it's able to support the sustainable allocation of LPT. And so, yeah, our next step is really to formalize the structure. And really, this is like a team effort, right? So we have Stable Lab filling in the role of chair. We have N and Rich that also have seats within this team from Livepeer Inc. And the remainder of the committee will be actually filled by 2 community members. So we're seeking whether it's, folks from other SPEs or orchestrators really the highest context members of Livepeer who can come into Govworks and also contribute their skills. So we've been sort of mapping out what roles and responsibilities could look like. We have a draft going already that I'm happy to share with anyone here who would like to, hopefully act as a sounding board before we get that pre-proposal up. And like I said, dogfooding our process. So we will also be presenting in the upcoming Treasury Talk first week of February to get feedback just on our activities in general, what's been useful, what hasn't been useful, what would you like to see, and so on. So yeah, that is, in short, the purpose of coming here today and like speaking with everyone. And if anyone has any, ideas, top level like comments, anything that is top of mind right now that you would like to give us feedback. Otherwise, we can definitely take the discussion offline. We can have it in the governance channel and so on.
One additional thing for me, Nneoma, is Carlotta and I are planning to have, and this is not on you, because we have the monthly Treasury Talks, which are kind of the overview. And then we're also going to have, in the other off 3 weeks, Govworks events. Events meaning educational events for the community. Essentially, the idea is how do we foster more creativity around SPEs? As Doug had mentioned, how do we, as a community, decide what is the shape of SPE? What defines an SPE? How big can SPE be? Right? Like, can there be a foundation that's created by an SPE? So I think we just need to have more conversations around that as a community. So we're going to have, weekly events that just touch on those topics. So folks who are interested can jump into that. And there'll be more details probably coming either later this week or next week on the cadence there. So trying to make some more rituals around the key parts of the future of Livepeer.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anne, for adding that. I think as we go, we will find ways to further activate the instigating function of that like generation of ideas as it relates to SPEs and really empowering the community to go forth and take ownership of these aspects and just further disintermediate Livepeer Inc. from that function. So we really want to have like a flow where folks are constantly surveying the landscape of the Livepeer ecosystem, identifying gaps, and then potentially proposing SPEs to fill those gaps, and also creating space for new entrants to the ecosystem that are looking to contribute, but maybe don't want to start their own SPE. There is, a bounty board going where SPE members, active SPE members can list tasks and people can contribute to SPEs on a bounty sort of basis. So a lot of moving parts there. Happy to hear any feedback, but if there isn't any at the moment, we will be posting like the drafts, the pre-proposal in the forum that folks can take a look at and begin to comment to help us shape up a final draft that will be going to the voting portal.
Nneoma, do you have a link for this portal?
Do you mean the Livepeer Governance Hub or?
When you say Livepeer Governance Hub, are you talking about the Explorer, or is there like a separate hub where all this is being managed and tracked?
Absolutely. So let me actually share that link in chat right now. We will be hooking this up to a shorter domain, but right now it's living in Notion. And if you click in, you will see that there are different sections dedicated to different aspects of building on Livepeer, contributing to Livepeer, the landscape, taking stock of the landscape of Livepeer ecosystem, events, resources, the contribution efficiency framework, which is the accountability piece that I mentioned earlier, and so on. So, like, for example, if you click into the section that says SB dashboard, we are really trying to provide this resource where at a glance you can see what is happening in Livepeer as it relates to the SPE pipeline. So idea phase, the pre-proposal phase, and then current SPEs that are active, and maybe might be seeking further funding eventually, like the AI SPE just passed its third funding proposal, for example, which was great. We have folks from the Education and Experience SPE, which was one of the first ones that we supported that got passed. And so following up in terms of milestones, if you click into the tiles, you'll be able to see a compilation of their reports and so on. So just making things easy, accessible, transparent, and yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I can see that. Like, that's really helpful. I've actually never seen this. This is it's gonna be really, really helpful. I notice if I just click on the dashboard, the current who's managing this right now. Like, is it Govworks, or you said Stable Labs?
Govworks. So Stable Labs is a governance firm engaging with Livepeer as the Govworks chair.
Actually, because yeah, like the
so essentially, I'm Stable Lab.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I'm just looking at the agent SPE, and the link to SPE proposal goes to our pre-proposal, but it doesn't go to the on-chain proposal, which was our final proposal because it was changed. So I'm just wondering,
Right.
Yeah, so something like that.
Exactly.
But anyway, this is really, really helpful. And then so just to clarify, so the person in charge of our SPE for giving monthly updates, they could go to this portal to write our updates and things like that? Or are we doing forum posts and then you guys will be linking it in?
Exactly. So the latter is what we're choosing to go with, just to keep the forum sort of as the single source of truth for things. And then Govworks is going to be doing that additional work of synthesizing information from your reports, gathering like links and so on to make the dashboard sort of like a overview of everything that's happening. So yeah, forum for updates.
Right. And then we can use this Notion site as our guidance for bringing templates for forum posts or regular things that we'd want to be doing to manage our SPE.
Exactly. So it's really the catch-all for resources, for starting an SPE, maintaining an SPE, reporting about an SPE, and so on.
Excellent. Oh, that's really cool. And do you have an idea of what you're going to get a domain name for this particular hub, correct?
Absolutely. So working with, I think Jason from Livepeer Inc. has been supporting us in terms of improving visibility for this resource, the Governance Hub. So we actually have it linked on the livepeer.org homepage now in the footer section under Learn. And then we want to hook this up to a livepeer.org domain just to, improve discovery in general. So yeah, we'll be working on all that. Of course, like also surfacing this within the docs website. So there's a couple things coming up on that front as well.
Excellent. Anyone else have any questions or comments on the Livepeer Governance Hub?
Feel free to give your honest feedback here or even in the governance channel. We also have on the forum, we have a thread going for just general updates from Govworks about our activities, about SP activity in general. I'm also going to link that there. So if you have comments, feedback, you can also drop them in the forum if you prefer to be on there. But yeah, really just looking to get that Govworks SPE proposal in front of as many eyes as possible so we can start getting feedback on how we're thinking about the makeup of this SPE and the different roles and responsibilities that it would encompass. And a lot of you, I hope as orchestrators, as highest context members of the Livepeer ecosystem, I hope that, you're inspired to contribute as well where needed.
Very good. Yeah, I love the work you're doing and looking forward to seeing other people use it. And having a one-stop shop for the SPE kind of landscape for Livepeer. It's awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been great to listen to you guys. And yeah, I will switch to listening now.
Very good. Thank you. And let's continue on with a couple more items. And you had a couple topics around demo day for Comfy UI and upcoming events. Why don't you take us away?
Yeah, so this Friday, the 31st of January, we'll be having the demo day for the Comfy UI cohort program. That's going to be at 12 p.m. EST. And then that will be live streamed to both Discord and Twitter. So that will be, happening. We have 7 people who have submitted, and we picked the winners. So, there's some incredible work that was done in that program. I'm really excited to kind of showcase that to the community and, everyone on Twitter, the audience of Livepeer as well. And then we'll also be doing a second cohort with the assistance of Encode, and I'll be the point of contact there. So applications are open. Let me post that in the chat 1 second. For the second cohort, so if people want to apply or know people who might want to apply, they can do that. See if I have it still. No. Okay. I will send that in a second. I have to pull it back up. So that's the landscape there. So that will be an ongoing program here at Livepeer. And yeah, it's super exciting. Even just like a personal note, I was able to create a workflow and get the Comfy UI and Comfy Stream set up in on my local environment, which was pretty fun. So I'll continue to participate there. And that brings me to one of the next pieces, is the Comfy UI event that will be running weekly, which is the Comfy Share and Study. That's tomorrow at 3 p.m. EST, 1 p.m. MT. Sorry, I have to convert in my brain. And that will basically be a time for people to get together, work on workflows together, talk about bugs they're running into, and showcase what they've been working on. That came out of a really successful internal event in the program that I was running with Eric and Ryan. That people were in that voice channel for hours, talking, connecting, building together, innovating. So I want to bring that to the more publicly to the community. So that will be a weekly event that will be run, and I'll be the host there. And I'll be on my local environment also trying to build workflows with people, so that will be fun. In addition to that, we're going to be having a monthly workflow competition, details pending, but basically there will be, every month we're going to pick, the best workflow produced for real-time video AI, and that workflow will get, a reward for their contribution to, the innovation around real-time video AI, and that will be a pretty significant marketing push as well. Highlighted in the bi-weekly announcements I do in the Discord. So that is what you can expect in this week, and then that event on Wednesday. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to go over. The agent bot, the Livy bot that Define created will be launching this week as well. Apologies on delays there. And
Mike, you're unmuted.
You're muted. Okay. Thank you, Titan. So the other one is the community survey. I'm just going to be doing a community survey for 2025 to get people's feedback on like how the community is going, what you want to see, what you don't want to see, what you've hated, what you loved. So that will be probably in the next few weeks. And I really want people to be honest, and as we are kind of starting to grow again, I think that's really important to shape kind of the vibe and the kind of culture of Livepeer's community. So I think that's all I wanted to go over right now. The last thing is just some community metric updates. So when I started looking at the community stuff, and this was in, I think, November, the vast majority of the server was inactive. So right, we have like 16,000, and a lot of them were inactive. Now that number, the number of active people has like doubled since I started. So we are seeing like a reactivation. A lot more people are checking the announcements I've been posting. A lot more people are jumping into the Discord and viewing a channel. So we are seeing renewed interest from those who have been in the server historically, which is really positive. And hopefully, as we continue to push at top of funnel, we will get even more renewed engagement, and those who are already here will jump back in and start participating. Last event I wanted to mention is we're going to be doing this week at Livepeer, which will be a weekly Twitter space. I know that some folks like Mayor, for instance, were pretty excited about doing something like that. So now that will be on Wednesdays. Carlotta and I will be running that. However, I encourage everyone here to come and just hang out and talk about what's going on at Livepeer. And we can also kind of talk about just general things happening in Web3 and connected to AI as well. So that will be another good kind of visibility thing for top of funnel to get more folks engaged in what we're doing here. And I do think we have a lot to share and a lot to be excited about. So yeah, I know I've been, oh, well, I would love, oh, and another thing. Okay, I'm sorry, so many updates. Oh, that would be sick, Mayor. Yeah, I'm also, this is like kind of pretty early. I have to developing it this week, but I'm potentially going to do like some sort of ambassador program, and for folks who are interested in like doing content and specifically around real-time video AI, but potentially the program can be flexible for folks who are more Web3 based, but that is going to be something upcoming as well, an opportunity for people to like, participate in trying to grow the mind share that Livepeer has within, Web3, within AI, and continue to grow that with some like your video content, right? That generally is what people engage with most. YouTube videos. I don't know if TikTok is the right platform, but it could be Reddit as well. So yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up, and I'm excited to be running a lot of it. And of course, always open to collaboration, to feedback. And if someone's like, "Hey, I would love to help you with that event or this event," I'm always down for community participation in that regard. So that is me.
If I could chime in, I popped into a random Twitter space like a couple mornings ago, and I met with this group out of New Mexico, and they have a massive warehouse that they grow medical grade marijuana, and they're selling plots of so people can grow their own stuff. And basically, they're going to live stream their massive 3-story warehouse full of. They're using Microsoft right now, so I've been just there. A lot of people don't know who Livepeer is what I'm saying. I'm trying to do my best, but these guys have been in Web3 for a while. They've never even heard of Livepeer. So there's a lot of eyes out there that we'll get a lot of attention just by you hosting spaces. And if I could do my own, just like starting out once a week, and it's just going to draw a lot more folks to the community.
Yeah, totally along with you, Mayor. Like, we definitely need to, as I've been saying, like plug the funnel. Right? We have a leaky funnel, a lot of missed opportunities. So, the kind of Q1 for at least Inc. is going to be, focusing on how do we, fix that funnel, and then how do we start, getting more inputs into it. So, all the things I've been mentioning are all ways to start engaging people more meaningfully, start increasing mindshare top of funnel. And, again, right, Livepeer is an incredible protocol. It's, kind of an easy aha moment for people once they know about it. We just have to get people to know about it and see where they can tap into the opportunity. So, yeah, completely with you.
Excellent. Well, thank you, En, for sharing all that. That's really, really cool to see all the outward progress we're making on events and drawing in those active community. So thank you so much for that. Okay, great. So we've gone through a lot of governance things, and we've talked about SPEs and things like this. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of some technical things. So Peter, if you're here, or anyone from the AI SPE team, I think there's a couple topics we can go over. Hopefully we can pull up Brad or Rick contributing or wants to have a topic around this. So first thing I want to go through is, so obviously DeepSeek is a huge meme right now and getting huge traction. So I want to talk about integrating that. But before I do, I wanted to run into a couple bottlenecks while I was doing some testing last week, and specifically around payment ticket bottlenecks. So right now, the payment nonce is hard capped apparently at 150 tickets that you can submit any given time. And so what that means is there is a ticket bottleneck when it comes to tickets that you can do for LLM requests. And this is a bottleneck that you get as an orchestrator. So what we're left with is basically, if we have a lot of demand for LLM, image, or any type of inference, when we reach that 150 tickets kind of within a couple second time frame, you basically just start rejecting work. And so what this turns into is we are limited to basically, what does it come out to? I did some just a quick round, math, which is like we're left with 360 divided by 60. We're left with orchestrators being capped at $6 a minute for income. So what this comes out to is an orchestrator, if you get sent more than $6 worth of inference in a minute, you're just going to start rejecting work. If we're rejecting inference. And so this, if you, and the way inference typically works is it spikes. Orchestrators know this from transcoding, like it's never constant, like it can definitely spike and fall. And so the question is, what level of spiking, can we handle, and whether we want ticket throughput to be that issue. So yeah, right now it's $6 a minute, which roughly turns into $360 per hour that orchestrators are capped on inference due to ticket redemption, which turns into about $8,600 a day. And then if you do that across 100 orchestrators at fully max capacity for exactly 24 hours, you're at $864,000 a day. Basically, protocol like maxing out payments for. So now this may change with Brad's update, which I think might go in the opposite direction of what we want to have happen, but we need it because we need to issue more tickets for less inference. But by doing that, we hopefully don't hit that 150 cap, the nonce. So I don't know. Brad wants to come up here if he wants to talk about this. I think we need to figure out how we can handle throughput of tickets, because I was running one app and I did increase the price by quite a bit, but I was rejecting tickets all the time because it's cap. Yeah, just some comments there, but we'll work on that. Anyway, that's what I've been doing quite a bit with like funds, just trying to figure out how it works for LLM inference and what kind of caps there are, and making sure that when we go live with the Eliza tutorial, we're not going to run into like obvious like bottlenecks or issues that people just have a bad experience.
I didn't fully follow the underlying reason, but it sounded like it's the sort of thing that was addressed maybe via like an arbitrary hard cap or assumption, i.e., it could just be like a software update could remove that limitation. I didn't hear any like fundamental security or theoretical limit for that, unless you actually know what the underlying reason is.
No, I know exactly what the underlying reason is, and I'm pretty sure it's an arbitrary hard cap. So it's literally probably a one-line change in Go Livepeer.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I see Rick's comment too. That's what I was going to say. It sounds like an issue that we could just file, and then it'll be in the backlog long before we hit $800,000 worth of fees per day, which hopefully will be sooner rather than later. But we can probably get the issue fixed first.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely it's just this one item. Anyway, so for people that were looking at the payout channel, you would see probably a 1,000 tickets paid out to myself from the SPE funds, and I'm literally just recycling those funds. So like, I don't want other orchestrators to get jealous or anything. I was literally just like sending them through to see some theoretical maximums and how Eliza handled large amount of traffic, or getting stuck on an orchestrator who has a price set too high, or if a gateway doesn't know how to set a price, like what happens when they add an extra zero when they didn't mean to, and like what does that mean for tickets. And so I've been just really trying to mess around with the gateway and orchestrator relationship when it comes to AI inference. So I'm going to keep doing that so that we can have really stable gateways going into the Eliza push and the Eliza tutorial going live likely next week. So yeah, just to give some context. So yeah, anyway, payment ticket bottleneck, probably a small issue. Just wanted to bring it up on, give some context for people. Another one was around the all flag confusion. I was really confused. For anyone who's running the AI inference on multiple GPUs on a machine, it wasn't obvious to me that when you put NVIDIA all, it takes the one model in your JSON config file and it tries to load that model into every GPU on your. And because of that, I had two GPUs and one clearly couldn't handle the model and one could. What was happening, I was running into this terrible issue where it would try spin up two containers and one would fail. It wasn't obvious, it failed. So I thought it was only trying to spin up the one because I only had the one config folder. So I thought, hey, it would only, in the JSON file, it would only pick up the first GPU. And I was just running into a ton of like confusion that it was actually trying to load up all the GPUs. So I just want to reduce confusion in the documentation that the all flag by itself doesn't explicitly tell you that it's going to load all the GPUs. You have GPUs that are broken or less RAM, it's going to totally mess up your whole orchestrator ability to do it. Thinking of putting forward a pull request to change the documentation to explicitly, instead of NVIDIA all as the example, it should be NVIDIA 0. And, you just comma separate which GPUs you actually want in slots. So therefore, just cleaner. People are first launching their AI agent, their AI inference. Say, you have 3 GPUs in a machine, just 0, 1. You know that those are the only 2 getting loaded, and whatever is in your AI models.json is only going to be referencing those. Does that make sense? Did the orchestrators, have they run into this issue? No, I'm the only one. For what it's worth, let's see, just a couple comments here. We need selection and payment fix pull requests. Both are on radar. For what it's worth, I think it's good practice for testing payments might be to run on testnet. I've been guilty of doing it on mainnet this summer. I mean, the only thing, interpreters, if we do it on testnet, like, that's great, but I'm more interested in seeing real world, like, examples of bottleneck. I feel like when it comes to ticket redemption and ticket issues, unless you're on mainnet, you can't fully test where certain issues might be. And for the small amount of testing that needs to be done, I'm not sure that it's worth the effort of spinning up a DevNet and then testing it on Holski, and then Holski has its own issues, you know, or I guess it would be like Arbitrum Holski has its own issues. I don't know. Let's test it in a real world example with a running ELIZA. Yeah, it's probably not the best. I wanted to really get that. Rick says, I paid out my day budget in 10 minutes by using for a loop first month. Yes. John and Brad have a pull request for setting GPUs per model and splitting over. Okay. Anyway, I was just bringing up that conversation because I got confused. I just don't want to run into the same issue because it's super not obvious you have a problem, and then you put your GPU live and you're just going to get booted out of the selection algorithm and you're never going to get work and you have no why. Unless you have a gateway that you have pointed to yourself and you're testing, it's like not obvious. N says, and I have one more update, Titan, after the topic is done. N, do you want to tell us your topic?
Sure. Yeah, so apologies. There's so many things going on. If my brain is having trouble holding them all. So the other update is on Telegram. So Alvin, who's been a long-time community member and long-time moderator of both Discord and Telegram, is now stepping up and the Telegram to, you know, despam it and grow the community there, more centered specifically around Web3. Of course, you know, real-time video AI and AI is part of Web3 as well, but, you know, that is going to be, you know, the express purpose, and it's not run by Inc. So, you know, things that were desired here can happen there, like, you know, LPT talk and the like. So I just wanted to share some stats there. I was checking this morning, and good news. So when I first kind of was in there, it was like relentless spam. It's like hundreds of messages that just were spam. Now that's almost non-existent, which is super amazing. And we're up about 1% to 2% in members, and it's kind of like the most growth that the server has had in a while, or excuse me, the Telegram group has had in a while. We're also up in viewing members and posting members by about between 24 and 28% respectively. So we are getting more people tapping in there, viewing there, posting there, and then the message count is up as well. So you know, that's just another avenue for folks who want to participate in more degen behavior. I think that is the space for that, and now the space is actually you're able to build community there. You're able to connect there, where before I don't think that was as feasible. And of course, we have the topics, which can help, you know, delineate the conversations and make it a bit easier to talk about one thing in a channel. So Alvin will be continuing working on that over there. Again, I'm not really involved, but, you know, if you have any thoughts or feedback or, you know, ideas on how to grow that space, feel free to ping Alvin and give him your thoughts. I'm sure he would love to hear them.
Excellent. Yes, thank you so much. And Alvin is a beast. He's awesome. So great to have him on board. Okay, let's continue on. So yeah, the payment bottleneck. If Rick can someone take ownership of just like reaching out to figure out if we can increase the nonce that the orchestrator would accept? That's Rafal or Rick or Brad or anyone from the AI SPE team or anyone from the transcoding. I think if it's a transcoding issue, this is where we have an issue with transcoding and LLMs having conflicting pipelines because the payments issue. I'm not sure why there was a hard cap, but it would be nice if we could just increase that by quite a bit.
Just a little bit on the hard cap was when you get too many tickets, it does. I mean, it was slowing down the transcoding, so I know there was an issue with that in the past. I don't remember exactly what all the details were, but when it was changed in the past, I think it went from 50 to 150. It may have been higher at one point, but I mean, it can handle more than 150 without much issue, but when you get really high, you'll see a difference in transcoding speed because it's processing so many tickets. I mean, it's going to depend on your hardware, but I saw issues with that in the past.
Because Brad, you put forward a change where the problem was we were charging too little per LLM request instead of issuing one ticket. But the problem is the ticket was worth way more than the job being done. So what did you do to change that? And does that affect the amount of tickets you would get on the high end?
So yeah, I have that like draft PR status right now. It's kind of I'm exploring how and what changes might need to be done with that. Yeah, for LLM, it's really cheap, like per token, and some of the tests that we're seeing now, there's not a lot of tokens generated. It's more on the input side. We can go down that input token rabbit hole in a different conversation. But right now, what I'm testing is like really getting into the details of how the tickets are paid, how they're accumulated both on orchestrator and gateway, because you do it on both sides of it. And to answer your question on the high side, if you said, I mean, you're pushing the limits of how this payment system was kind of designed and created. So if you're going to charge an exorbitant amount, you might always run into this in some way or another. And it might be different things that get tripped up. It can be the ticket count, it can be the ticket EV is too much, the all the say you're pushing the safeguards, right? I think you know that, but I just want to put that out there. And what the main change that I'm looking at right now is that tickets are tracked based on some form of the ticket parameters that the orchestrator sends up that expires in 10 blocks. And so that's about 2 minutes thereabout, right? Right now. And I'm trying to get it to track longer based on just the pipeline itself. So for LLM, you send maybe 1 or 2 tickets up front, and then you should be able to get inference from that orchestrator for a decent amount of time after that. For changes kind of beyond that might require us to kind of think of a new way to split the AI payments off of what transcoding uses. It'll use a very similar structure, but just the finer details of how it like tracks it and stuff like that might need to be a little bit different.
Okay, so what's happening is we're not reducing whatever the ticket EV or whatever it is, the value of it, so that what you're saying is you will still send one ticket that's worth maybe 10x than the first inference request. But if we cache that payment for an hour, say, your next 10 inferences will just be, cached against that first ticket.
Yeah. It'll pull the balance down with each inference after that.
Right. Because
right now, there's no way you're going to get it. I would be surprised if you're able to like get $10 or $8 worth of inference in 2 minutes from a single orchestrator.
Well, this was the problem, right? Because it only lasted 10 blocks, right? And so what happens is if you're doing one inference request every half an hour, you are way overpaying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and the other difference here on AI stuff is because of the image to video and text to video being so much more expensive, we all had to set our orchestrator's ticket EV to 3,000 Gwei, I think. Whereas on Transcoding, we use 50 Gwei, or just under 50 Gwei. So the tickets, each ticket is worth a lot more on AI. And that's going to be part of my things this week, is trying to see if we can lower that down.
You mentioned this for LLM specifically, but isn't that true for all of the jobs? I mean, a
Yeah,
video
no, this
job and,
the same
tickets
ticket
across
applies
the
to
board.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But what my initial thought is that if there's a way to take out the most expensive one, like the video part, the image to video, text to video, stuff like that, when it comes out, it's been thrown out there before, some kind of multiplier on the ticket EV, but I don't know what the lift is yet. I'm still just trying to get into it and see what it takes. Because if we could use 50 Gwei per LLM, the ticket would be worth a lot less, and you'd have a lot less prepayment to worry about, and you might be able to get through it in 2 minutes.
So are you saying that with just adjusting the ticket value and the prices that you could actually solve this issue without having to make code changes? Or you still think there's going to be code changes?
I still think there's code changes along the AI side of it to track the payments by pipeline for an orchestrator and a gateway. These things none of this survives restarts of a gateway or an orchestrator, mind you, but that's not a big issue most of the time, I think. And I'm trying to look at this in a way that's minimal code changes. And obviously does not impact transcoding at all. I don't want to do that.
Because again, I think I explained this a week ago. Like, my goal is to get 3 days. So I have a project. They're using Eliza for an infinite backroom and quite a bit of inference for an infinite backroom. But there's a lot of people that want infinite backrooms, especially after the whole Godius Maximus, run up and hype. Everyone wanted to run their own backrooms. So this project I'm dealing with, I said, listen, why don't we use Livepeer for your backroom, give you free inference, and you can be our test project. And so my goal for the last week has been, let's get Livepeer to provide backroom inference for 3 days straight with no downtime. And so far I've gotten about a day. So I haven't been able to reach 3 days with just like uptime. So some of the bottlenecks have been obviously gateways getting stuck on orchestrators that aren't doing the work. So that selection algorithm is getting changed in this new release, I believe. Brad, you made that, or somebody made the update. So that the other was, I switched the gateway to the I switched the backroom to the Dream gateway, and then it spent a bunch of your guys' money, and then we got rate limited. Then the infinite backroom didn't work anymore. Then I had to switch it back to the agent SPEs gateway, and that was hitting up. I had issues with, again, selection, and then there was also another issue with I can't remember. Oh yeah, it was doing a lot of image inference rather than LLM inference as well. So then image inference was taking up majority of the budget. So I switched it to just my own orchestrator doing only LLM inference. And then we got to about a day and a half, and then I started running into just payment ticket issues. So then I started testing, the wide variety of ticket issues. Anyway, that's kind of where we're at with it. Yeah. Hopefully, and we can eventually open it up to the rest of the network and smooth out some of these overpayments and reliability of traders.
I think you're pointing something out, though. It's like, as you were describing it, I could feel the hairs on my neck going up as we've been managing the Livepeer cloud gateway, and we face similar issues. And it's just, it's hard running a gateway. It's not easy. And there's so many things, there's so many factors, so many variables, so many combinations. Like even when you look at pipeline by pipeline, it just the number of variables and configs are just, so high. I think there's definitely an area here where we got to get better at this side of the equation. I mean, orchestrators are pretty good, workers, remote workers, all that stuff's all been good, but the gateway still needs some love.
Yeah, and the way I see it is in 3 months when we have VTuber integration into Eliza, and your Eliza agent can now do, live video through Comfy UI, and that is all integrated. Like, payments are going to skyrocket on Livepeer because of demand. Like, LLM inference is cheap. Image generation is relatively cheap. Like, you're doing live video, Comfy UI, inference. Like, gateways are gonna be screaming. Gateways are gonna be absolutely running. The amount of inference requests, the amount of payments, the amount of traffic, the amount of demand there's going to be on the Eliza side for this type of plugin. It's good that we're just figuring out the nuances of the LLM and the image first. So that's why I'm just spending a lot of time like trying to understand the relationship between the gateway and the orchestrator and develop that reliability. And I mean, Mike, yeah, I feel your pain, Mike. Like you Cloud SPE, you guys are on a whole nother level of pain. So I'm like, I'm feeling your pain.
Wow, we did some load testing. We wrote some scripts to kind of just see for ourselves, like based on the volume we saw from that backroom thing you were doing, and just doing some calculations. Like we pretty much would have like blown out our budget in like a week that we have to have for several months for testing. You know what I mean? So we didn't want a rate limit, but I think rate limiting is one of those things where there are going to be some bad actors.
Yeah,
So we have to find out the right balance there.
And I want to make sure the tutorial that I release next week is, if we're going to be using the Cloudy SPE as the default, then I want to make sure that the tutorial is in line with what the SPE or the cloud can handle and or wants to support. So the current tutorial is a Twitter bot, which requires very little inference. The inference is something like every time it gets tweeted at, it's doing an inference, and then it tweets every 2 hours, which so, most people are going to have Twitters that are not very active. So you're looking at, inference, every 10 minutes or something like this. Whereas the infinite backroom is significant amount of inference.
Yeah, and I think that just from a Livepeer Cloud's perspective, it's just really that, the free to use gateway was really meant for people who want to start, kick the tires, check it out, see how it works. And then, from that point forward, if you're looking for production grade, uptime and throughput, those are, a lot different than what the free to use gateway is all about. But I think we'd be happy to support as much as we can. It's just a matter of making sure we have the right funding to ingest it all.
Yeah, and that goes into my other topic around the ability to top up other gateways, which I found very fascinating. So if you use Anishe's platform, I can fund your gateway with a deposit and reserve. So I thought that was really interesting. So if we even the cloud, even the agents SPE, we have 1,000 LPT dedicated towards inference. We could dedicate some to you guys without even your consent. We can just top up your gateway.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We have reports that, spit out how many requests were made for each, for each token that's submitted through our authorization. So we know, when we saw a bunch of requests coming from that Eliza LLM, and then you look at the number of tickets, we were seeing that we were definitely going to be, running out of money. So I think we could track all those requests, and we could always, verify how many requests are coming from your integration. So I think it should be pretty easy for us to pinpoint exactly what the costs were.
Also, like, I assume that there's a lot of community willingness and support for anything that generates more demand and more fees on the network. And I think one of the benefits of existing SPEs is that they already have like a track record and a reputation. They've already have, the frameworks to receive funds and whatnot. So I think if there's like more money needed for inference as we're proving out these early capabilities of the network or finding fit with these initial integrations, I think like an existing SPE, whether it's AI SPE or agent SPE or cloud SPE, could probably do like a quick proposal that just explains why more fees from the treasury or why more funds from the treasury could be used to send more, work into the network for a period of time. And I would imagine there'd be like pretty strong support for that.
That was a question of mine. I mean, I would have loved to submitted a proposal and that's not have to deal with rate limiting at all. So I think if that's something that you think is going to be pretty easy to get community support for, then I'd say we do something like that.
Yeah, like as long as it seems responsible and rational, right? Like, hey, we have these new integrations. People are excited about it. They're kicking the tires. Like it's generating a lot of demand. Over time, we'll of course want to test out, how much these apps are willing to pay, what the pricing looks like, and adjust. But in the interim, proving that this is useful and people want to use it and it can grow is like a really valuable starting point.
Well, that was the other point too, is that, I was thinking, well, maybe we could just ask orchestrators to lower prices, but at the end of the day, we really need to get numbers with real payouts to see, where does that price per compute lie, and perhaps even maybe if we might need to raise prices if you find we're too cheap, because it is expensive running hardware. So I think it just being able to have that information is good.
Yeah, I vote the cloud SPE. Just goes back to the treasury and gets some credits. I'd support that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be basic. If we can just come up with some basic numbers and talk about what it might look like, then I'd have no problem submitting it.
I think that the keys are just like transparency, integrity. Is it like, hey, we've spent this much on inference. You can see it on chain. These are the sources. We want to apply for X more to make this available for the next. We expect this will last the next month or two or whatnot. And as long as it's transparent and justified, seems like there'd be support.
Cool. Sounds good to me.
For the cloud SPE team, I just want to clarify that the ELIZA integration, the bearer token, so the ability for you guys to see where the inference is kind of coming from, on the LLM side, that it is set so that you can see that it's the ELIZA LLM.
Yeah, we see it.
But
we see it.
For image generation, that bearer token is not there. So when you have ByteDance requests coming in from the same IP address, like those are also ELIZA requests, but they don't have the bearer token attached to it.
That's fine. If they have none, it'll show up as none, and if it's just ByteDance, we should be able to isolate it.
ByteDance is the default, but they can change it to whatever they want.
Oh, okay.
So just to I think the only way to accurately track that is IP cross-referencing. In which case,
yeah,
I don't know Define if we could have added the bearer token to the LLM inference the image inference when we submitted our pull request, but we just didn't.
Oh, I thought I saw.
I think it's added.
Yeah, I thought I saw image requests coming in.
Our image requests, they have
Yes.
the bearer token?
Yeah, yes. As I remember correctly, I did 2 different bearer tokens, one for LM and one for image. I'm taking right now. It should be there.
Oh.
All right. So I thought we were good, so we should be good there.
Well, maybe I didn't review the pull request close enough. But
well, it works, so it's okay.
it works. I swear I read through it and I didn't see a change to the image gen integration?
You probably speed read it. Taking the request.
I hope I misread it. I hope I did.
No, you speed read it. No misread it. Speed read it.
Oh, speed read
It
it.
has a better release.
Is there a
Yes,
difference
so
between
it's
speed
better.
reading and misreading?
Yeah, definitely one.
Accuracy.
So it's
Depends
yeah,
on good you
yeah.
are at speed reading.
You can be a good speed reader, but if you're a misreader, you will never read good enough. So you have bear release app emotes. Yes, so it has the bear in emotes and LM, so we can do some comparisons on the cloud SP side on how many LLM requests we get as a percentage.
Okay,
Yep. Yep.
I will take your word for it, sir. I just
I mean, that's how the reporting
It's
works
there.
for
I
us as well.
can show it to you.
yeah, you just can you link me the line, please? Just link me the line. I need confirmation that I
Okay.
don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. Okay, well, go ahead, Mike, and disregard everything I just mentioned. It should be there in the bearer token. Thank you, Define, for your excellent work. Really, really helpful. Great. So yeah, topping up other gateways. I know there's a proposal. There was a chat or a pre-proposal someone put forward around a inference credit SPE. So I don't know. I think that's an interesting idea. I don't know what that would look like, but they could just top up our gateways based on like an inference credit SPE, or just the cloud SPE going and asking for the credits is probably.
Where was that one listed, Titan?
Let me try and find it.
Can we page Livy to find it for us in the Discord?
Yeah, where's Livy when you need him? Where? Open source.
Oh, is this from a while ago, or the one you're thinking of?
I don't know. I just remember seeing it, and I can't remember where it was.
Okay, if you find it, just send it my way, because I don't know if I was aware of that one. I know the only one I'm thinking of is the I'm blanking on the name as well. It's now defunct, but there was an idea for doing like similar what you're saying, like a credit thing that would go to like startups and different people building on Livepeer. But the idea is no longer happening as of now. I mean, the community can still pick it up, but yeah, that it was an Inc was thinking about it, like proposing that to the community, but we're no longer.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was actually a pre-proposal or maybe it was just someone mentioned it somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can't find it, but I remember someone saying.
No worries. Well, another idea is something people are interested in. I'm sure that maybe someone can jump on creating a proposal for it.
Oh, look at that. Define. He did add it. I am mistaken. Look at that. He's so ahead of me. It's amazing. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's amazing. Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, image gen and LLM gen are the bearer token is set. So the gateway, each gateway will be able to clearly distinguish where the inference is coming from, what application. Excellent work. Okay, let's continue on. I want to talk about DeepSeek R1. Who here has been following the trend around DeepSeek and the R1 movement and the hype? And what would it take to integrate DeepSeek as an offering on Livepeer for inference? I'm thinking if you built a tutorial right now called "Use DeepSeek on Livepeer" in this tutorial, you'd probably get quite a few hits as of today. So, what would it take to integrate DeepSeek as an?
Are you talking about the distilled versions, like the smaller versions?
Sir, I don't know what I'm talking about, so you tell me.
Okay.
I think to be
But
practical, it would have to be, right?
yeah, because the like the not distilled version, like the main version, it's 671 billion parameters. Takes about a terabyte of RAM to run.
Oh,
They
thanks for the
released
context, sir.
they released some distilled versions that are like fine tunes of other models that are smaller, like down to 14 billion parameters, and even a much smaller one than that as well. To get those on to Livepeer, the distilled versions, I'll have to go look at. It might not be that bad if it still uses the same plumbing as the other models, which I would assume it does. But to get like the main model on, we'd have to update the LLM that we use as the back end, which is not horrible to update either. So it wouldn't be too hard, is the gist.
Does anyone have any idea how well those distilled versions work, or how much we're giving up by using those?
I don't know specifically. It kind of depends on what you're using it for too,
Right.
with
Yeah,
each of
that's
these
good.
models. So it's kind of hard. That's a hard thing to answer. I'm happy to load these Titan onto my 4 3090 Ti's, and you can see how it works, see how it goes.
The distilled version.
Yeah, I could pick a couple of distilled versions, like the 14 billion one and the 32 billion one. They even have a distilled version of the Llama 70 billion, I believe. So if you want to look at the distilled versions and pick a couple, I'm happy to load them for you this week.
Yeah. I don't know.
Can I jump in for a moment?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, just on this subject of DeepSeek, a lot of people are talking about it in the ELISA Discord, and a lot of people are kind of looking for different options away from, say, OpenAI or maybe even Claude. But a lot of people are talking about DeepSeek. So if we can at least test it and see how it is and what we can do with that, that might be another avenue that people are liking it, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you for tapping into that that Discord. I mean, you can see the trends of what people want. That Discord is quite intense. It also
You
is,
really can, yeah, and it changes fast. Like this new thing, everyone's already straight onto it, and yeah, it's really interesting.
A quick question. Do you, in that Discord, like, do you see like, a peak of interest and then a sustained, usage after, or sustained like kind of like interest post peak, or do people kind of like drop things really quickly and then pick the new thing up and drop it really quickly?
Well, everyone's just trying to find better ways of using different providers and everything just to get their agents working a bit better. So everyone's really in the testing phase to get agents responding better and doing all the things they want. So it's very developmental. And I mean, I don't necessarily see, okay, I've got this thing and it works perfectly and I'm going to stay with this forever kind of thing. It's definitely constantly moving. But I mean, we've been using Claude the whole time, or not the whole time, but we've quite happy with it at the moment. But again, it might be worth looking at DeepSeek and see what it comes up with for agent operability and everything. So yeah, it does change quite a bit. But again, does everyone jump in and say, hey, yeah, this is definitely what I'm staying with? Not necessarily. So it's hard to be conclusive in that end.
Gotcha. And for people who don't know what DeepSeek is, could someone give more context on it? And thank you, Phoenix, for that.
I can if that's okay.
Yes,
I'm
go ahead.
not. But before I comment on the model, I just want to say that the LLM space is very opportunistic regarding the models that are released. So when a new model is released and it's better, or at least the paper said it's better, all the hype will revolve around that, and the less capable models will be forgotten. That's what we see at least right now. Um, on so DeepSeek is the first model that it's open source, and it's being developed from a Chinese company, and it's open source and has the same or in some aspect even better intelligence than the O1 model of OpenAI. So for those who do not know about the O1 model, the 4.0 model is the base model of ChatGPT and OpenAI, where you give a message and you get immediately back a reply. So the process is immediate. So with O1, you have I think it's test time inference. It's the technical reference. So it actually thinks and then gives you an answer. And it can think for a set amount of seconds. You can specify it on the API, or it will decide how hard is your problem, and then it will think of the appropriate time and then output the answer. So R1 is the same type as O1. They're both test time thinking models. But R1 is open source, where OpenAI is closed source, and R1 uh, being able to do that, I think in a very small amount of time, between 3 to 6 months, where OpenAI had all the funding and all the hype and the attention and the very great scientists, and they were able to produce a one with those resources, where R1 was produced with way fewer resources.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was familiar. I didn't know what it was called, but I knew there was like an open source model from China that just had come out. So thank you for that, Tufan.
Yeah, what I really like is the fact that, well, the choosing of the models, or the trend, the quickness of the model, hype, that is actually an orchestrator problem. So once we get Eliza pushed into main, hopefully next week, then it's very simple for people just to say, hey, I want to use Livepeer and I want to use this model, right? It's just a flag. It's just an environment variable they set, right? So when we don't have to go back to Eliza and keep re-pushing code with our current stations. So when a new model comes out, it really comes down to the quickness that orchestrators can support that model, and we can push it as a Livepeer option. So whether that's our integration for LLMs or our integration for the VTuber plugin that's coming out, I think it's important to know that like these trends, while they happen quick, I think orchestrators will be on top of it pretty quick to
Gotcha.
to change their infrastructure to handle it. I think that's an interesting thing to note. We don't rent GPUs. We rent, or we sell pipelines.
Yeah, I think that one thing to also note is like using O1 or a model like R1, where the quote unquote chain of thought or reasoning chain is built into the model, is going to take longer to respond generally, because it's kind of iterating over its own outputs before it gives you its final. Um, and the distilled models, I haven't really played around with them yet, so I don't know how much how much better they might reason or might not, because they're not they didn't go through a reinforcement learning process. So they are just distilled, which means they may not be fantastic. There may be more of like an academic exercise to utilize them, but I could be wrong on it since I haven't played with them hands on. And I'm also assuming since they're distilled, they're not necessarily turning those distilled models into reasoning models. They're going to be still more like the, GPT-4 type capabilities rather than one with chain of thought built in. The full R1 model, however, does have that, but as was pointed out before earlier, you're going to need massive compute to run that particular model. So there are obviously some nuances there, and that's what makes it kind of tricky, right? New model comes out, looks attractive. You have to run it against benchmarks. Every model is going to have its strengths and weaknesses. Some models are really tuned well for math and score well against those. Others are for other types of things. Most people are familiar with chatbot and chat arena, and those things are being fine-tuned and trained on question answer data sets. And rather than these, like R1, where it's much more broader set of data. It's not a fine-tuned version. And there is a effort by Hugging Face they launched over the weekend to implement reinforcement learning pipeline on top of R1, so that you would be able to have the same capabilities of the full R1, but potentially now in smaller models with smaller, lesser weights. We'll have to see how that moves along. But generally, the distilled ones don't have that reinforcement learning process applied to them.
Yeah, good context. Yeah, again, the models are going to be coming out like candy bars. New flavor is going to be every month, and especially with China outsourcing that, or making them open source and live, I think it's going to be a reaction to orchestrators to upgrade. So, and then we can adjust our pricing. Back to Mike, you're cracking. There you go. Back to the whole pricing conversation, which is like orchestrators get to switch to DeepSeek, and then all of a sudden you need to daisy chain 4 GPUs or even 4 H100s for a terabyte of RAM. Like, what do we charge, and how does a gateway handle those charges? Making sure you're not underpaying or overpaying, and all these things. I bet you if an orchestrator daisy chained 4 H100s and got a terabyte of RAM and did the full model, like, you're gonna run into 150 ticket nonce pretty quick. Like, I guess I'm not gonna make that a cheap inference cost, right? So things like this, I think, is why we're doing such a deep dive into pipeline. Excellent. I just want to mention too, we also got a fish. So it's weird. We have Livepeer is now fully into the ELIZA documentation. So when you go to choose your model or your provider, we are listed as, just listing your gateway and being able to select your model for small, medium, and large inference models, as well as your image inference model. And we have links to our documentation, which is livepeer-eliza.com. List, what people can change it to and how to get started, a quick start, just using that domain pointer to local documentation or professional documentation. As we have documentation specifically for the Livepeer ELIZA integration. Okay. Yeah, that was my comment around DeepSeek. Brad, let us know when you honestly just load up the smallest DeepSeek model. If you can get the whatever it is, the 14 billion live, like, do it. Just pick the pick the easiest one, and I would love to test it out with the infinite backroom.
All right.
Yeah, I've been reading. I mean, you might want to try 14 billion first, but 14 anything below 14 billion starts getting a little loose in terms of the quality. Now, we'll have to see what real benchmarks produce. That's just you know, at best heuristics from looking at Reddit and other things like that. So who knows how real it is? But I would certainly say 14 billion. And in the end, you're running a distilled model. You're not really running DeepSeek. You're running the Quen or Llama or whatever it is.
I think we're talking about quantized versus distilled. No?
I'm talking about distilled, not quantized, where you have like the teacher and the student models. Basically using DeepSeek. The distilled models are DeepSeek training or fine tuning Llama, right?
Yeah, that would be the distillation. Correct.
Yeah, it looks like there's a distilled Llama 8B, which is the most direct comparison to what Titan's using right now. There's also a Quinn 14B and a Quinn 7B.
Yeah,
So,
but in essence, those are Llama and Quen models at the end of the day.
correct. Yeah. With DeepSeek doing some kind of magic trick.
Yeah,
on it.
fine tuning them basically.
What I want to do is I want to rename the tutorial use Livepeer with DeepSeek. It's a free tutorial and earn $100. I think that's just like a nice clickbaity tagline, like people are gonna be like, yo, Livepeer, DeepSeek, $100? Like, yes. So I might rename the tutorial if we can get it going. Brad, you let me know when it's live.
Yep.
Technically, it's correct. I mean, in the AI model itself, it may not be, but as far as who actually fine-tuned and distilled these models, whether Llama, Quen, doesn't matter, it was DeepSeek. That they're the ones who did it. Their R1 and R10 models are the real deal, but they're the ones that are actually DeepSeek models.
Yeah, Phoenix posted that tutorial in the Eliza OS channel. Like, we'd have 100 devs.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of hype around the Venice AI launching their token today. I saw a lot of that. Oh, look, on Base now they have this with DeepSeek, so it caused a lot of interest.
I have to jump. Just a quick thing that I wanted to mention before I do is I definitely recommend everybody try to go to the demo day because there are some really incredible demos. And it will be recorded as well, so you can catch it async. But I at least was really blown away by what everyone did. And the top 3 folks, it's like pretty wild what they accomplished. So anyway, have a good one, and super proud of everyone, especially Agent SP. Great job, great hustle.
Yeah, we're just doing it, Cool. Let's continue on. We got 3 more topics. We got Papa Bear's quantized models. Mike,
I think we covered it pretty well there. So yeah, I'm good.
Sure. Yeah, because we only got about 10 minutes left. Let's hop on to Define, your topic around Comfy Stream being hard to use, agent on the water cooler, and custom node for the VTuber. Tell us a little bit about your topics and what you're thinking.
So regarding agent for the water cooler, this is the easiest to finish with. So as we see with Eliza, they have some agents that they actually hear on the voice Discord channels, and they can be used as support agents. So this is the plan with Live. If you go right now on the Eliza developer Discord, I think on their actual Discord they have the agents too. You can ask questions and the agents will reply. If you have a discussion within the voice channels, the agents will record this conversation and you will find it on the Eliza Discord as a transcribed. So we can do something like that. There is the capacity and we can actually use the Livepeer network for for that agent. we can do that starting from the next water cooler as a test. So we can try that. Regarding ComfyStream, I don't know about you guys, but for me as a developer, it's frustrating. I don't know your experience with it. If you want to launch different workflows, you may have incompatible nodes, so you need to either delete everything, or if you not rebuild your environment from scratch, then you need to maybe even have two environments, one for running one workflow and one for the other, which is pretty crazy. So there are setup issues. I think it's John did some amazing job with containerizing and dockerizing. That, but it's still, I think, maybe we can work on that. Like I can focus some time tomorrow because it just annoys me that much. And if imagine how it will be for the developer. So I think we should really work on providing the absolute best experience that you want to have as a developer. And so to remove all obstacles from the future developers, which will come to ComfyStream and will try to develop workflows. So that's about it. That's about the topic. And the third topic, it's basically, I don't know if anyone here checked out the diagrams that I posted about the VTuber workflow, or if anyone has any feedback on it. If you have, feel free to voice it because it will really help with the development process. I think there was a lot of work on what can actually work, how it can be extensible, how it can be in such a way that we can very easily in the future reuse most of the components and really have something that we can continue contributing on and improving. So yes, any kind of feedback, it's really, really welcome.
Very good. I was just thinking too, I wonder if we could train Livy on all the previous water cooler chats. We can have them transcribed and then jam that into Livy as training data. And then when Livy joins us for a water cooler, not only is Livy getting current, training on the topics, but as context for every single water cooler chat for the last 4 years. And
That's really cool idea. We're not in condition right now to do it due to the model restriction. So we are using the Llama 8B 3.1 model or 3.3. I don't remember exactly, but it's I'm not sure. And we do not support training, and I think this is also might become an issue.
No, we don't need to, no, we don't need to train the model. We just literally need to import it.
Oh, the agent. Okay.
Yeah, the agent itself into its knowledge folder, right? Because it'll literally be 10,000 lines of sentences, and then it'll be put into the RAG, the data folder, and it can just pull upon it for every inference, right? So
we support the yes, so that is possible, but because we support only 8K tokens as output, so as input,
but
and
But the agent, the way it works is it only takes like using vector search. You can put in 50,000 lines of data into for it to learn, and then when it goes to do the inference, it searches and it queries its own database for
yes, the most relevant,
for 5 of the most relevant knowledge pieces, and then that gets included as the inference, right? So you never have to go above the 8K tokens, even though you have 50,000 lines of knowledge pieces.
So the only actual.
Yeah, we did it with Phoenix. What was the experiment you did with Cryptopher Columbus? What was his knowledge base?
Two files. One was about 1,200 page PDF, and the other was about 600 page PDF. And I uploaded it into an ELIZA character builder website, and it created a JSON file. And well, there were those 2 files plus some another sort of much smaller document, and it came up with over 50,000 lines of for the JSON. So it's tricky to know what the best way is of uploading large amounts of information or PDFs or whatever you've got saved there into a character for them to resource the knowledge. Because I was going to ask you, Define, if you know more about that, the best way of doing it, is it a RAG file or not? But because obviously it'd be wonderful to get our agent and just put absolutely megatons of information onto Livy, so that she has years of history of Livepeer, all of our documentation, all of our conversations, or Discord information in her knowledge base. But I'd like a bit more clarification on what's the best way of doing that, so she can access it easily without massive data storage issues, etc. Yeah, you go ahead.
So I'll be honest on that. I'm not very well informed on all the information storage system that ELIZA supports. I know that outside of the character file, you can utilize the whole database to store answers, and I'm pretty sure it can store information about the agent too, the agent memories, etc. So that may be appropriate for the user case. Now, regarding the training, this is relevant to what will be the actions that the agent will be able to do. If it's just a transcribing agent, an agent that just makes sure that every word is being written down correctly and transcribed, and just doing that kind of work, it does not immediately need all that kind of history. It will be just extra work. But if it's an agent that can be a conversational agent, and you really want to have those water cooler conversations so that it has the context and it's able to answer to people and discuss with them, and potentially in the very near future, when this utility is added by other ELIZA contributors, being able to use its voice inside the Discord. It might be even out right now, I'm gonna check. But depending on what you want to do, how many actions what you wanted to do.
Put it this way.
Right.
Go ahead, Phoenix.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of depending on its main goals as an agent, what its total task is going to be. But still, yeah. Okay, thanks. Carry on, Titan. Thanks.
Basically, we already have the tools to export all the water coolers into the knowledge section of agents. If you want, we can give you the knowledge JSON portion to input into Livy, and then from there, I think that then we can make Livy have way more context around Livepeer.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the best way to give her knowledge about the Livepeer ecosystem because there's so much data inside those water coolers.
Well, I'm glad I kept all these water coolers going and posting them recordings every week. You know, it was during the bear market. I was
Definitely.
like, oh, this is this even worth it? You know. But I thought, someday we'll use this data. Hey, we actually have an opportunity now to create an agent based on 4 years of water coolers. So that's hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna end it here. It's been 2 hours. I think we've gone through quite a few topics and leave it at that. So, any last comments before we sign off? Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for joining and making Livepeer the open and decentralized video infrastructure for the world. We'll see you all next week. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.